Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today's focus, we're going to talk about how the PT industry has changed. And we have our host here, John Repsher, he's the founder of Repsher Physical Therapy in Albany, New York. And he's been in the profession here for over 44 years. So he's going to give us lots of wisdom here in what he's seen happen over the years and what he's been doing in his practice. So this is definitely one that you want to stick around and listening to. And during his time, John has treated thousands of patients in the Capital District, including professional, collegiate, and even Olympic athletes. So he's a published author. He's submitted chapters in the first edition of the AMA award-winning book, Athletic Training, and has conducted numerous seminars for doctors and physical therapists across the country and even in Spain. So he's an international star. John's also been a Practice Promotions client with us here for almost 9 years. So it's fantastic. And he definitely has a long and storied career, and he's impacted thousands and thousands of lives. So, John, thanks for having us. Thanks for being with us here on the podcast.
Sure.
Excellent. So tell me about Repsher PT, where you are, like how many clinicians you have.
Well, we're located in Albany, New York. We have there's 8 clinicians that work with me and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep busy and enjoy doing what we do.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's a testament there showing you can have a busy one location practice, right? You don't necessarily have to have multiple locations. You can have a nice sized one location practice, 9 total clinicians there, very busy. So just shows you what you're able to grow to in any one location there. And so, John, when did you become a physical therapist?
Well, I became a physical therapist back in 1970.
Awesome.
So I've been doing this for, I guess, about 54 years now.
Fantastic. Awesome. And so when was it that you decided to open up your own practice?
Well, we decided to open our practice. I actually had a small practice in Williamstown, Massachusetts, where I had helped found the Berkshire Sports Medicine Institute. And I supplemented that practice with doing school physical therapy. And my wife and I sat down at the dining room table and we said, gee, if we could just clear $20,000 a year, it's worth a gamble, we'll try it. And so we moved over to a Victorian house that orthopedists that we knew had left. And so we started in there 3 days a week, and then it just kind of grew after that.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So you've seen so much happen here in the profession, right? And how things have changed and grown. And so for you, what would you say are like the top 2 or 3 big things that you've seen, change in the PT industry in that time, right, that you've had your practice?
Well, back then, we really formed very tight working relationships with all of the physicians, not only the orthopedists, but the primary care physicians. And of course, over the years, and maybe in the last 10, 15 years, the primary care physicians sort of moved over to the hospitals and got absorbed by that. So referral patterns that we got from some of the primary care people that we had for generations just sort of started to evaporate.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the declining reimbursement is another huge factor. Back in the 80s and early 90s, we could enjoy a 50% profit margin, which was pretty common for medical practices, not just physical therapy. of course, that has changed tremendously. And I think things most recently, um, the amount of money that the new physical therapists come out of school with the debt that they have puts pressure on starting salaries, which really is unsustainable. And I think that in not particularly our office, but overall, that puts pressure on production, which is a double-edged sword there because um, I think the chances of burnout are greater. And then we have, thousands of physical therapists leaving the profession each year. So we have a shortage of physical therapists, increasing salaries, and so that puts more pressure along with the declining reimbursement.
Yeah, so obviously some major challenges there that have evolved and changed over time, right? And when you were saying 50% profit margin back in the day there, it made me realize like, gosh, when I started practicing like 98, uh, you could charge like 25, you get reimbursed like 25, $30 for a hot pack, back then, and then they stopped paying for that altogether. Um, so times have changed a lot with things. I think the first thing you said though was interesting because the way the profession used to be was very intertwined with the physicians, right? And the physician relationship. And so you needed a referral, you had to have a referral, but you had that tight knit communication with lots of different doctors, right? And then because of the hospital systems that blossomed and acquisitions that happened in the market over the decades, you said the primary care physicians kind of got swallowed up by the hospital systems, and patients who would normally get filtered out to outpatient got, come back into the hospital system that way. So that's something that I do see a lot with practice owners as I talk to them, is that you still have um, some practice owners that rely heavily on physician referrals, and they haven't diversified how they get patients in, and they haven't gone as much direct to consumer marketing, with the way that people are searching online for help, right? And so if they're continuing to rely heavily just on a few physicians referring to them, we know that those doctors can get acquired by hospital systems or even retire or whatever may happen, and you start to lose those referral sources and impact your business. So it's really important that you diversify and really start to go direct to consumer in your marketing, as well as continue to build obviously the relationships that you have with physicians, but you can't rely on that just being the thing anymore. And I agree with you too, like what you were talking about with declining reimbursements. That is definitely a challenge when the cost of having a therapist come in, the salaries that they need now, and they should be getting paid those amount. What we should be seeing is we should be seeing the payment for the services go way up, right? And the salaries would be where they need to be for therapists, but unfortunately, we've been kind of capped by Medicare and insurance companies of what they should be paying. But I think there's obviously the fight on that side of things with the insurance companies and Medicare and what we should be getting paid there. But how can we circumvent that? And I really think that how can we, in our practice, model what people really need, right? So this is what the insurance company's going to cover, but what else, what other services can we bring into the business? And prior to us getting on the podcast here, you mentioned you've done some other services like laser, right, into your practice.
Yes, that's helped quite a bit. It's been a good service for the patients.
Mhm.
Another way that we can treat chronic pain, and that's been a good source of support.
Yeah, so these cash value services that you bring in. So I think as a bigger clinic as like yourself, where you have multiple locations, it could be very difficult if you're just going cash based, right? It's a different kind of model. But I do think that you can add cash value services. So laser treatments, massage therapy, acupuncture, um, if there's post care programs like stretch programs and things like that. We were just chatting that we see one of the fastest growing franchises in the States is Stretch Labs, right? Where you have really non-professional people just stretching, customers as they come in, and they're building fast. People want it. People like it. So why aren't we doing that in our practices, right? It's a very simple add-on program that we could possibly do and add some even non-clinician people to provide those services at a lower cost. So there's lots of ideas that we could generate to supplement, obviously, the challenges that we have with the reimbursement model. So thank you, John, for sharing those big things that you've seen there happen in the industry. And so, what would you say is one thing that you've seen that's changed for the better in the profession over your years?
Oh, for sure, the advancements in orthopedics and what has followed with physical therapy, a huge difference. Just as an example, the ACL repairs that were done when I started were extra articular repairs. So you think about what Joe Namath had done with his knees and what was called for afterward. Patients were put in posterior splints at minus 30 degrees extension for weeks on end. Then by the time we got them, getting extension was really a big challenge.
Wow.
And so we did everything, you know, we could think of to get extension and flexion for that matter. But so yes, the things that have changed for the better are just the ongoing progress with orthopedics and then our understanding in physical medicine of how to treat. And that's been gratifying to see. What we do is a whole different level of therapy than when I got out.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you noticed, because of the evolution of the physical therapy profession, I graduated with a bachelor's degree and now it's a doctorate degree. And so have you seen as new therapists come out of school, are they more qualified? Do they have like a different skill set than, therapists that were 20, 30 years ago?
Well, I guess yes and no. Um, I think they're exposed to much more than perhaps I did a certificate of proficiency at University of Pennsylvania. So my what I was exposed to was considerably different than what the students are now. But the things that stay the same is the students that come out still need mentoring and hand-holding and a good first introduction to starting their career, and then that early experience to bring them up to speed. And
Absolutely.
that hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's a lot to learn, and like in any profession, it takes years to develop your skills, right? And the nuances and I've seen over the years with therapists, they've gotten their technical skills as they come out of school are better than they used to be, say, 30 years ago. But the soft skills, the people skills, technology skills, the systems and processes, and learning about business, learning about insurance, like that just takes time, right? You need training programs for that within your practice and mentoring and so there's the skills with the people, right, to get the bodies better, but then there's all the other soft skills of dealing with personalities, dealing with business, and all those other things. And I always joke that PT was 60% psychology and 40% actual therapy. So as you get to know people and how to deal with the anxieties and things that they're dealing with because of pain, you get better at that over your time in business. And so, John, for you in your practice, what would you say has been your biggest obstacle or challenge in these last 44 years in business as a business owner?
Well, I guess I would go back to reimbursement definitely is one of our big challenges for sure.
Mhm.
If we had reimbursement where we were actually having growth with our reimbursement instead of having CMS taking away our reimbursement each year, we'd be in a better place to pay our employees and pay the therapists the money they deserve, and then also to provide the benefits with health insurance and everything else that keeps going up in running a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for you, do you find that you have a wide variety of different type of insurance payers in your practice, or is there like, are you like 50% Medicare? What kind of different insurances do you have?
Yeah, we probably are somewhere around 20 to 25% Medicare. Then we
Okay.
have local insurance company that is a big payer for us. But one of the things that has happened over the years, we used to get a full reimbursement when we saw their patients, but
Mhm.
now over the years they have a withhold that they
Mm.
pay back in the spring. It started with one withhold, now there's three withholds. We recently received notice that our second withhold is being held up. So even though we have a contract to get it reimbursed by a certain fee, they have the ability to withhold that. And they actually report that in their communication to us is that they're paying out lots of money for drugs, like drugs for weight loss and other things that are putting a pressure on them, and then they don't pay us what we've already earned.
Mhm.
So that puts another level of pressure on us.
So that's an interesting model because I really haven't heard too much about that before. So with a withhold, so you provide the service, you bill for the service, and they say they're going to, reimburse you for that service, but then they hold payment.
They reimburse us for about 75% of our fee.
Okay.
And then they withhold a certain amount and then decide as the year progresses whether the climate is such that they can give us the full reimbursement.
Mm, that is a terrible model. I do not
Yes.
like that at all. Like you provide the service for them and now they're not paying. So yeah, and that can be a challenge if you've got a large payer like that in the area. So again, it comes back to how can you circumvent that, right? And I've certainly seen it in different practices where sometimes they've had to fire insurance companies because their model changed so much that you have a certain dollar amount you need to bring in per patient for the services to pay your staff and rent and all those kind of things, right? And if you are below that threshold, then it doesn't make sense to keep that insurance company around, even though you might lose volume because of it. And so there's a hard line there that you have to really look at, and again, like how can you, and again through marketing, there's a lot of marketing. How can you circumvent that? How can you attract more people who are willing to pay, out of network for certain insurances or additional cash services or whatever it may be? But yeah, that's the first time I've heard of that withhold model. That's very interesting. So that's definitely an obstacle in the practice for sure, right?
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
And so, you've worked hard here. You've grown a successful business, and so for you, what would you say brings you joy as work as a PT and as a practice owner?
Well, I think my door to my office is always open, and patients come by, and I love hearing stories about how they have been patients for numbers of things. They keep coming back, and they have good results, but they like the total package, how they're greeted at the front door and everybody knows their name. And so they can't say enough about how the whole process works in our office. And of course, I love reading the 405 five-star Google reviews that we have, and I answer those myself. But reading those is just a lot of fun. So when the day gets down a little bit, I click on my time to respond to Google reviews, and that lifts me up a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's all about helping others, right? And making them successful. So I love hearing that. And I think what you've just explained though is sort of that patient experience, right? And sometimes as a practice owner, we can be looking at the KPIs and the metrics in the business, and we're looking at this and we're looking at billing issues, and sometimes we can get a little distracted from the main outcome, right? Which is a really happy and satisfied patient that's willing to refer other people to us. And so if you can make sure that you have a really rich patient experience, then you can build all those other things on top of it, right? But I love the way that you look at like how they greeted at the front to how their experiences within the clinic. And then I know that we help you with the connection, keeping that connection going with obviously email marketing, direct mail marketing to your customer list. But that is your gold mine in your practice is your customers, and how are you keeping connected to them, and how are you helping and serving them, how are you creating that rich patient experience, and that's what helps them recommend you to others. And as you mentioned, how they said that they're coming back for multiple problems, right? And that's really what you don't want them to choose somewhere else or another type of service to solve that problem. You want to come back to you so you can help them. And so, John, as you look ahead here, 5 years, 10 years, what do you see, your role in the business and kind of your aspirations for Repsher?
Well, gee, 5 years, I guess we're going to try to keep things going, keep our head above water. But in 10 years, I'm going to be approaching 90. So, by then, I hope to have passed the office on to some of our clinicians to keep it going and keep using the same principles that we've had go on for the last 44 years and keep it going into the future.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, you're obviously following something that's passionate to you, which I really admire. And then looking at how you can pass the torch to others in your clinic down the road is definitely a wise way to go with that. So let's switch over here a little bit to marketing your business. And one thing I've really noticed and admired about your marketing is that you do have a lot of photos and videos on your website that are real, like that you've taken them within the clinic. And so how do you think that improves your marketing results?
Well, when we were doing our own website and newsletters, we learned early on that patients really wanted to hear about us. They wanted to see us, and we feel that having our own photos just increases the personal connection to our population, and because it's very easy to see a stock photo from a real photo. And when they're taken in our office with our therapists and they see some of their fellow patients in the pictures. So I think that helps the connection greatly. Now, there is, each month when the newsletters come out, I get out my camera or my phone and start walking around. So I put a notice on their door that, okay, this is the newsletter, couple of days, and we take pictures of more staff and patients. And then we have a
Fantastic.
stack of releases at the counter and say, some patients are not interested, but the majority are very happy to help us get the
Mhm.
word out. And that's what we do. We ask, and we need some help for the newsletter or the website.
Love it. Love it. It's absolutely 100% the best thing you can do. And I like that you make it a priority in the clinic and let everybody know, like, hey, we're actually going to be taking more pictures this time of the month. So we've got our marketing ammunition for our next newsletter, our next email marketing that's going to go out. And I can tell you 100%, like our most successful clients are the ones that make the effort to take those kind of pictures and videography within the clinic, right? You have to tell the story. You have to make those personal connections. And when people can actually see the people that are in the business, that connection is so much stronger than if you just have stock photography. So sometimes as practice owners, you can get very busy in the practice and you don't really make that a priority. But I'm glad that you make that a priority because it really makes a world of difference in your marketing for your clinic. It's something that we really love. We love to tell the stories from within the clinic. And when we have practice owners like yourself that send over all that great photography, it just makes the marketing so much easier to get better and better results. So a question for you, John, here. What would you say the effect of working on your marketing has done for your business growth?
Well, it's certainly, especially this past summer, which with vacations and all, is a slower time for us. And it definitely has helped fill our schedule for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's the nice thing with marketing too. It's sort of like the gas pedal on your practice. So when you know that there's going to be some bumps in the road, it's going to be a slower time of year. You put a little bit more onto the marketing to get you through that slower time, and then if you're too busy, you can let off the gas a little bit, right? But that's how marketing goes. And so I know that fairly recently that you added Google Ads onto to your marketing there. So what would you say have you seen the impact in your practice from adding on Google Ads?
Well, that's been very good. July, we had 49 conversions from Google Ads.
Wow.
So that's been great. So those are new patients that we wouldn't normally be getting in
Mhm.
because they're coming from everywhere, and so that's been a
That's
good
great.
thing for us.
Do you know how much you were spending in your budget for that?
I think we were spending about $21 a conversion.
That's ridiculous, right? To get an interested person towards your practice for 21 bucks. If you're doing like 50 to 100, that's really good. So that's why we really encourage practices to be doing Google Ads as well as all their other SEO because most people are going to go to Google first when they're looking for help. That's what we call it, Dr. Google. And the top part is Google Ads, right? So if you want to stand out, you've got to be at the top of Google. And the way to do that is you have to use Google Ads to be at the very top of Google. But when you can be at the top of Google and you can be at the top or in the middle of the map section there, and we'll call the 3-pack. And then if you can be at the top of the top 10, so you have like 3 or 4 spots on page 1 of Google, you're going to be the best in town, right? People just have that perception because you're all over the place on the searches there. So it's great to hear the kind of results and impact that you've had from Google Ads there. Um, and so just curious for you, what other, we've worked together a lot here, obviously newsletters, direct mail, Google Ads, website SEO. But outside of practice promotions, do you any other kind of marketing in your community events, things like that?
Sure, we recently did a booth at a powerlifting competition that was in town. We have the Winter Expo coming up for North Country and skiing and all. So we're going to do a booth there. At the powerlifting, we took a hand dynamometer and had the ladies and guys in a competition, and we gave away a Starbucks card or some gift certificate for the person who had the best grip, which was a lot of fun. But we do other things where we do workshops of various kinds, shoulder, back, hip, knee, and we do those at our office. We also do those at a 7,000 member fitness center that's about 2 miles from about a mile from our office. Let's see, what else do we do? Oh, we do things that we get from Chad at Breakthrough. The greatest promotion ever, we do those twice a year, which we invite all former patients in for a free screen. And we also have those free screens at the front desk, and then also the therapists have them available so that they can give those out to their patients to give to family and friends. So we're happy to fill the vacant spots in our schedule with free screens to get people coming in. So that works pretty well. Yeah, we do a number of things to just get the word out. And
Yeah, that's fantastic because it's about the connections in the community that you can create, right? And I love the idea that you did to make it competitive at the powerlifting event. It's something simple like a hand dynamometer, right? That people want to make it a competition. So I think that was a genius idea there. But yeah, there's so many businesses that we can connect with, right? And gyms and health places and different events that's going on that you need to just get to know, right? And then what can you provide to them that could be of service, right? And it's a great way to connect in the community and get your name out, right? And bring people in for free screenings is a great way to get people to understand a little bit about what you can do for them. So I love it. And so, John, just curious to hear, just what has your overall experience been with Practice Promotions helping you in your business?
I think it's been very positive. In the past, we've had people working as much as one half in marketing and then at the front desk, which was basically getting out newsletters and kind of fine-tuning our website. But we didn't really know what we were doing on the website, so it was pretty much it didn't have a lot of energy or horsepower. So once Practice Promotions got done with our website, it's really performing very well now. So it's made a big difference.
That's fantastic. That makes me happy. Excellent. And so, John, do you have any final words of encouragement for other practice owners out there?
Well, I guess I would say market is in as many ways that you feel could possibly help you, and measure the results, make sure you know what's helping and what's not, and stick with it because it does take time for things to evolve. And you just hang in there, have fun, and yeah, that's
Oh, excellent. I love it. John, thank you so much for all your words of wisdom here and your experience. That's fantastic that you've been a practice owner for so many years there and seen such changes in the industry. And here you are, a very successful practice owner. So congratulations and kudos to you in your entrepreneurship and your expertise there. So thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today.
sure. Thanks for having me, Neil.
Awesome. And to our listeners out there, thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. Don't forget to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube. We got lots of great information for you there. Also, check out practicepromotions.net, where we have tons of advice for you on how to grow your practice. So this is Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and I'm wishing you much success in your practice.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to get your free practice marketing sample kit at practicepromotions.net/kit Start 2024 off the right way by building marketing systems that automatically attract new patients from online. That's practicepromotions.net/kit.